We're trying to win that big money in survivor pools. It's Scratchin' and Survivin' next. All right, guys, we are back with Scratchin' and Survivin' NFL Week 6. Hopefully you are still alive. You probably are. That's why you're watching the show right now. As you guys know, this is brought to you always by the Sharp app. If you don't have the app yet, look in the profile here or down below for a link. Get the app. If you are planning on making any bets or you're in any type of office pool, you will need the Sharp app to guide you on the way. And of course, head over into our Discord. We get a ton of comments here on the videos with survivor pools, but I also answer a lot of them in our Discord channel as well. So if you guys want to pop over into our Discord, there's a link for that as well down below. Love to have you in there and chat it up. We'll talk survivor pools and all other sorts of sports betting and have some fun. All right, let's dive into what we got going on this week with survivor pools. You should be dwindling down depending on where you guys started with your pools, but we should be getting down to the nitty gritty here, even just in week 6. But unless you started with thousands of people in a pool, a lot of pools are down to very few people. I'm in one. The smallest one that I entered was about 40 something, 50 people, something like that. To start, we are down to 7 people in that one. Not everyone took Buffalo last week like I advised. Pretty much last week, we were going to go chalky. You know how we play it here, guys. If you're new, we'll try to bring you up to speed. But how we play it is, if you are in a pool with not many people left, you start to get chalkier. In other words, the more equity you have in the pool, the chalkier your picks become. The less equity, the more risk you have to take. We talk about equity each and every week. Some of you ask me why equity is important when you don't actually win anything, right? If you're down to 2 people in a pool with a $10,000 pot, you've got $5,000 worth of equity on your pick, but you don't win anything until, of course, you win the pool. But the more equity we have, the more equity we build in that pool, the more we want to conserve it, and we want to be a little bit more cautious, and that means taking chalkier picks. Chalk meaning the favorites, right? So we're going to go with the easy pick, so to speak, the easy pick. We've learned that easy picks don't necessarily happen here in the NFL anymore, but we want to try to take the most optimal pick we possibly can when we are down to very few people in these pools. The larger the pools, the less equity we have in that pool, the more risk we have to take. All right, hopefully that's understood, because if we play it chalky, why don't we want to do that in pools where, let's say, we're 1 pick in 1,000 left? We don't want to be too chalky here because the odds of us winning are slim. The chances of this going a long time are great, meaning we're going to have to take some risk either now or later on in the pool, but let's take the risk when we can, when it's a worthwhile, right? So if we can get off of the big favorite or the team that everyone is taking and take a lesser team that's not all that far removed from that team that everyone else is taking, now we give ourselves some leverage in the pool, right? Some people find it confusing that we're going to take totally different teams depending on how many people are left in the pool, but that's how it works. It's the same thing when you're playing a GPP lineup in DFS. That means guaranteed prize pool, which means it is very top heavy, and those are hard to win. There's usually a lot of people, a lot of entries, and hard to win those type of pools, as opposed to what cash games. And for those familiar with cash games, you're just trying to beat 50% of the entire pool. So when you're trying to do that, you stay very chalky. You take picks that are not going out on a limb, whereas in GPP, we got to take some flyers to try to shoot our way up to the top. If you understand bell curves, right, we're trying to just be slightly better than that mean. The bell, of course, is the highest right in the middle, right where the mean is, and we're trying to stay close to that mean when we're playing cash games, and we're going to do that as well here when we're playing in small pools, but we need to be at the extremes when we're playing in larger pools or GPPs and DFS. That means both extremes. If this extreme is the losing side, right, having just an awful pick, and this is the extreme of winning the whole thing, you have to be willing to be on either side of that bell curve. That means losing really early or winning your entire pool, right? So the best GPP lineups, some of them are going to be absolutely awful, and then some hopefully are going to shine. We're looking to get that 2 or 3 standard deviations from the mean. And in order to do that, sometimes you're going to be 2 or 3 standard deviations below the mean and sometimes above. So we're, of course, trying to get that above the mean number in order for you guys to win your pool. All right, just a little background, a little math. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, try and catch up on what it is we do here. Let's go right into Survivor Grid. This is the website that we like to use for picking our Survivor picks. Gives us some good information here, and we can see the biggest pick percentage team this week is going to be the Rams at nearly 34%. Makes sense. They are the biggest favorite. And again, as we go here, guys, and we get to less and less people in our pool, we're going to start matching the most popular pick more often. I call it counterfeiting that pick. And the reason we're doing that, like in my pool where I have 7 people left, we've got, last week I took Buffalo. Some people got cute, took Jacksonville, and got eliminated. Some took Green Bay, got eliminated, right? We want to stay with the most chalky picks, or the most the most obvious pick, or the team that is most likely to win. We want to do that. So we went down from 10 to 7 in that pool, and that's really all we're looking for. I'll go over that pool in a second, but let's just look here. 33.7% on the Rams. They are a 10.5-point favorite at home. They look pretty good here. The number 2 choice is going to be Tampa Bay. 26.8% on the road at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's look pretty bad. Tampa does not look great, but we will see 7.5-point favorite in that game, and catching 27% of the picks in most pools. A lot of people haven't taken Tampa yet. The Rams, there's a good chance you may have taken the Rams. We'll see. And then Green Bay is going to be the third choice. There's really 3 or 4 big choices this week. Green Bay, and then, San Francisco is actually the third choice right now, and Green Bay, they're pretty close for 3 and 4. San Fran's at Atlanta, only a 5-point favorite, getting over 10% of the picks, and also over 10% of the picks, Green Bay at the Jets. And what the Survivor Grid is showing us is that the most equity right now, or the best EV, is going to be on the Jets and on Dallas, or Philly, I should say. Sorry, on Philly. Now you look at Philly. Philly's got the same line, if not, according to this, at least 5.5. I have to look at what we've got inside the Sharp app, but Philly 5.5-point favorite. San Fran right in the same ballpark, but yet more people, of course, have confidence in San Fran than Philly. Of course, the reason being Atlanta is not very good. Dallas has been playing pretty well so far this season without Dak. But remember what I tell you guys all the time, the point spread dictates everything here. The spread is the spread is the spread. A 5-point spread against the 5-point spread, they are equal, certainly in our eyes, and you have to trust me, they're equal no matter what. Now, you are going to try and handicap these games and try and figure it out. You're going to look at, well, divisional matchups I don't like. I don't like teams on the road. You have to trust me on this one. I have all the data. It is inconsequential. A 5-point dog is going to win just as often on the road, at home, in a divisional game as they will not in those situations. So you have to trust the line. That's what we're going on, and that's how we get an edge on everyone else. A lot of people are going to be looking at not wanting to take divisional matchups, maybe not wanting to take against Dallas. Now, I'm not saying we're taking either Philly or San Fran here, but certainly the Philly side is going to be a better bet, all things being equal, in a vacuum where we're not looking at future value. Philly would be a better pick here just because we're getting leverage, right? But let's go over now. Let's open up my spreadsheet, and we'll talk about what we're looking at for this week inside of the spreadsheet. Now, this is at a 50% future value weight. Again, guys, if you're new to this spreadsheet's just going to be a guide here, and it's going to show you, depending on how much we want to weight the future value of our picks, what a good selection is going to be. And if we have multiple picks like I do in a lot of my pools, this gives me a good idea of like where I should be breaking down my picks. So if we were in purely a small pool, not many people left, and you had 1 entry or 2 entries, let's use my pool as an example. Now, I do have 1 entry, but I'm going to put 2 in there. Let's just put the 1. All right. Let's just put 1 entry in there, which is all I have. We're down to 7 people. This doesn't change anything. Just a guide for you. But we're down to 7 people in that pool. I want to weight future value at 0. I just want to take the best team. And what that's going to, of course, give me is the Rams. Now, when I looked at that pool, and this is important also, guys, know exactly what your opponents have. In that pool, I just looked at it before doing this. Of the 7, 5 people have taken the Rams, 2 have not. I'm one of the people who have not taken the Rams. So I can't ask for a better situation. There's going to be one other person potentially taking the Rams, and perhaps they won't take the Rams, and I'll be the only one on the Rams. At worst, I'm going to be one of 2 people on the Rams. That means I get to pick now the best pick on the board, the biggest favorite, 10.5-point favorite, potentially with being solo on this myself. If the other person who has not taken the Rams is smart, of course, they will take the Rams as well. And now we are in a situation where these other people are going to take other teams, lesser teams, and if, of course, any of them lose, I could either win the entire pool or be down to maybe 2, 3, 4 people and have an even greater shot of winning the pool. In other words, building even more equity, which is going to, of course, reinforce the fact that I want to stay chalky. So if we can get that Rams win, I'm going to improve on my pool. Now, you are going to have to do the same thing. Now, even if no one had taken the Rams, I still want to take that pick because we're always going to have the people who are going to try and play what they think they're playing, that game theory where they're going to have a chance to win the entire pool. And there's going to be situations where we're going to do that. Certain weeks, we're going to do that. Now, let's say this week, let's look at the Survivor grid. Let's say we were in a situation where the only or the best picks, let's say the Rams-Carolina game wasn't on the board, and the best picks were going to be Green Bay, or the highest lines were going to be the Green Bay-Tampa. Now, if we had Green Bay available in as a pick to us, and at that point, let's say now Tampa was being taken 35% and Green Bay was taking 15%. Those are essentially equal probability of winning. Even though we know we're scared, Green Bay just lost, the Jets have been playing well, Tampa, Pittsburgh's been terrible. We get the reasoning behind why people may be on one side or the other, but we have to use that to our advantage, right? So we're going to take the biases that people have in these pools, and we're going to take teams that are pretty much on par with each other, or at least for this week, have a very close to equal chance of winning their game, but we're going to get all that leverage because we're taking the team that not everyone else is taking. But certain situations like this week, I think we need to be chalky in small pools and take the Rams. Let's look now if we are in larger pools, which I am as well, and we'll change this. Again, guys, where I may have started with 100% weight, and you may be there in your pool. If you still got, 1,000 people, maybe you still want to weight this at 100%. Let's just look if we had 2 entries here. Now, even at 100%, interesting, it likes the Rams. And I don't disagree with this pick at all, right? We've got limited amount of future value. The Rams have not looked great. They're kind of mediocre in future value. These numbers, the higher they go, the less future value the team has. So you're getting the highest spread on the board with a team middle of the road future value. The Rams look like a great pick in all formats this week. I wouldn't get too tricky with it. Now, if I've got a lot of picks, let's say I don't know exactly how many I've got left in the big pool that I'm in, but we are down to about 1,000 people. But in that one, I'm going to probably go 50%, 75%, something like that. We'll see where I'm at. And as you can see, the allocations here are going to be, if I wanted to spread this out over 4 teams, I would have 2 Green Bays, 5 Rams, 1 Chargers, and 1 Tampa Bay. So what I'm gathering from this right now is, if you've got multiple picks, you're probably going to want to be over the market on Rams this week. What I mean by over the market is if 33, 34% of the pool, your pool takes the Rams this week, and you've got 10 picks, you're going to be over the market by taking 5 or 50% of your picks on the Rams. I think that's the right way to play it this week. Like I said, we're going to get a little bit more chalkier as the weeks go on in these pools and as we start losing some people. So this is kind of how it looks at 50%. If you're in a really large pool, maybe you want to be at 75%. Still going to give us the Rams as our number 1 play, depending on how many teams you want to break it out. I know a lot of you guys don't have much more than 10 picks left. Maybe you've got 5 picks remaining and you want to spread that out over 4. Again, it's going to be Green Bay, 2 on the Rams, 1 with Tampa Bay. I like that. I kind of like that allocation. Now, the Rams do have a lot of future value, so you may want to hold off on that. Again, it's getting trickier and trickier to advise everybody as we go. The one other thing I want to note, and I told you that, guys, this last week, is be careful if you've got multiple entries in a pool, right? Be careful on where you put certain teams, right? So last week, when I had Buffalo in my multi entered pool where I have a lot of entries. If I had Buffalo, what I wanted to do was move Buffalo to the lines that were where I took a little bit more risk earlier in the year. So I had some lines where I had Chicago and the Giants on the same line. In those, I tried to put a more chalkier pick like Buffalo. Now, depending again on how large the pool is, maybe you want to continue to try and build equity by taking another risky pick. But of course, the more risk you take, the greater chance you have of losing that really nice line. So you've got to balance that out. So you're not just putting picks haphazardly in there. You want to look, if you are taking a team like, let's say, Tampa, that's got a lot of future value, take them maybe with a line that has teams that have no future value, right? Teams that you have no chance of really taking in the future, so that it gives you more options. Plus, you're lowering the equity on that line, but it's a line that you've taken that really has a good chance of going far because you've got a bunch of teams in there that you don't need for the future. So, it's up to you on how much risk you want to keep taking. If you're going to take the more riskier play, then you are, of course, risking a really good or high equity line. So hopefully that makes some sense to you guys. We'll go into it in more detail. I'll show you some exact lines as we get deeper and how we're going to start allocating our picks. But most of you guys have very few picks, if it's 1 or 2 picks left in your pool. And it looks like really the Rams are going to be the play I would recommend this week in most formats. Again, you guys saw how the spreadsheet was playing out. As always, you'll leave your comments. I'll answer them. And join us in the Discord. I'd love to see you guys there. Good luck this week, guys. That's all I got for you. Let's continue down the path to winning our Survivor pools. Good luck.